Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I'm Chris, and I am joined today by my brothers Adam
Hello.
and Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room to talk more about Uncharted, following on from our last episode. This episode's actually releasing on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
How romantic.
We're talking about our love of the Uncharted series. With this entry being Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. It's also worth noting that the Uncharted movie is officially out now in the UK and Ireland, and I know later this week it's coming out in the US and everywhere else, so we haven't seen it yet. We won't be talking about that yet, but if anyone has seen it, maybe without spoilers, just let us know.
Well, I will have seen it once this is out.
That's true,
True. That is true.
I might have. We'll see when I can get around to seeing it and that, and we will talk about that when we've all seen it, and eventually, yeah.
Give it time. Give it time to brew.
You're gonna hate it, aren't you, Adam?
I don't know. I'm going in with a very open mind.
I don't have high hopes.
Neither do I.
but I hope I'm wrong. But I think at the moment, if you check the Rotten Tomato score, but that's not always.
I will not.
Yeah, don't.
I will not. I'm just gonna go watch it.
Look at anything. But do let us know actually if you've seen it, even just like non-spoiler. What are your thoughts on it so far? And obviously, since we're talking about Uncharted 3 today, then let us know what you think about that as well, and anything else we bring up during this episode. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please jump down in the comments to share your thoughts at any time. And please do give this a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and click that notification bell so you're up to date on all future content. If you listen to us on audio platforms, then you can touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take to give your take on everything we bring up here today. But without further ado, let's talk Uncharted 3.
Don't let your dreams be dreams, man, or something like that. I don't know. What was the
Something
dreamers
like
of
that.
today? Can't dream.
They
They should dream. Daydreaming is grand.
The dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dreams with open eyes to make it possible, or something like that. This I did. T. Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah, you know what? The Uncharted games always start with a quote from
They do.
the, whatever explorer is relevant to the plot at the time. And we've started each episode with talking about our favorite quotes from the game. However, I don't know many quotes from this one.
Well,
No.
no, there was one now while you were actually saying that quote about the T. Lawrence. I did remember another.
You have a quote, Eric.
I have a quote because I'm not being.
have a quote.
Right?
Yes, go on. Tell us.
They're in London, right?
Yeah.
They're with James Cutter. They're in the place. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're in their hideout,
Yeah.
and they're talking about James Dean. And James Cutter is like James Dean. He's like the original 007. See, if you look at his initials, it's or his signature, it's 007. If you look at it, it is a 007.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
like that one.
That's
James
funny.
D, even. James D, right?
That was not James Dean.
James Dean is like a film actor.
Same thing.
James Dean. Yeah.
Film actors
so
are
it's
explorers.
worth noting from the start, and this has been relevant to our other Uncharted discussions as well. This is a full spoiler discussion. If for any reason you haven't played or haven't seen or aren't aware of Uncharted 3, and maybe it's something you do want to play or pick up or get involved with. So just so you know, like you might see the movie and you might be like, oh, I must check those games out. Like I never played Uncharted. Just to let you know from the
Where
get-go,
have
this
you
is
been?
a full spoiler discussion. But we'll tell you why this game is awesome, or why it's not, depending on how we feel about it. Because if I remember
Cutter's
correctly-
a great addition.
if I remember correctly, Eric last week said he found this game really disappointing.
I did.
In
I
Eric's
did.
defense, I remember me and him had some long conversations criticizing the fuck out of this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You as well?
I thought you were defending it, Adam. Were you not defending it? I was criticizing it.
No, we were both criticizing it because there are problems with the game.
Yeah.
However, I don't know why, even though there's so many criticisms to this, and I have criticisms for this game, for some reason, it just goes beyond them, and I just love this game.
Okay.
That's so interesting, because that does, and that can happen with things where it's like I see all the problems, but I don't care.
If you tell
I
me
love
this
it
game is
anyway.
shit, I totally agree with you. It's amazingly shit. Or great. Or great.
Well, okay. I think it's worth putting out there that it's certainly not shit, because none of the Uncharted games are. It's certainly of a high quality game, but then
It is.
within the Uncharted franchise,
Yes. Yes,
So
it's disappointing on knowing what they were able to make, because
Okay.
The Last of Us, did The Last of Us come out before or after 3?
After.
After 3.
Oh, definitely after 3. Because half the team made 3, and the other half made The Last of Us.
Right. Okay. But anyway, on just from Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, the high stellarness of it, like Uncharted 3 is amazing compared to a lot of other games coming out around that time, and even still to this day, there are some games that are a bit but for the standard that they set the previous 2 games, this one fell a little flat. Now, graphically, it was amazing. The physics of the sand was amazing, right? The new design for Nathan Drake. I mean, when I saw that, I was like,
Iconic.
It's iconic. I would like to go.
Yeah, he finally looked like a video game character.
He finally
looked like a video game
character. I wanted to go downtown wearing a scarf and a bandolier of bullets. You know what I mean? Like, that's fashion sense right there. He's great for it.
Yeah.
It's the story.
Right.
The story was disappointing. It's a moment where it was trying to hit emotion, didn't hit. The villains,
Really?
I thought, yes. So again, spoiler alert here. When Sully got shot, I didn't care, and I was like, I should care because this guy's been in it since the first freaking game. Like, but I didn't. I didn't care. How come I cared in the first one, even though I barely knew this guy the first time I played? I was like, oh, shocker, Sully died. But at this one, I didn't care.
Okay.
And the villains, I didn't care about. I was like, yeah, you're gonna explain any of this? Oh, you didn't explain any of it. Okay, grand. Like, I didn't care, and I think by the end as well, with then the city crumbling, I was like, another big set piece. Like, the more big set pieces they were doing, the less enjoyable they became.
Right.
There was too many sections that were actually just too long. Like, actually, the entire pirate sequence, you could have taken that out. That was just
With the ship, right?
Yeah.
Where it's playing the ship is amazing spectacle.
Right.
Like, it's a great set piece. It feels like it's in the wrong game though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it does feel like they had too many ideas maybe in this.
But it's from the minute you get captured, going through that junkyard, onto the docks, onto the ship. It's so long. It's just really long. It's kind of boring. It's a bit annoying. And like, for ages, I was like, I just want to have that iconic look. Where's that iconic look? That's like only towards the end of the game as well.
Right.
Salim was supposed to be like the new Tenzin. I didn't give a shit about Salim. I was like, good for this guy. All right.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Keep going.
So, and then, yeah, again, with the villains, I was like, I actually preferred Lazarevich to these guys. I know Lazarevich was typical, oh, I'm a warlord and I'm going to be evil and a bad guy. Yeah. But it's like, I got him. I don't understand him. I don't understand why he's wanting to do it. I don't understand why he's being a genocidal maniac. But I get it because the world has genocidal maniacs. But I think when you have villains that have like magic or something, or they got like they're a big secret organization, you have to delve a little bit more into the realm of making them seem believable, because they just didn't.
Right.
Spectre from James Bond seems believable because everything they're doing is relatively within the possibility of believableism.
I don't know if I followed you to a certain point, but I think you've lost me. as probably the biggest James Bond fan I know, you've lost me.
I'm just saying, they're not doing magic. Like, Spectre never does that. Right? A knife in a shoe is pretty more believable than being shot and then somehow being alive or something. Spiders weren't great. The monsters weren't great. Right? I didn't like spiders.
This actually goes back to, our second ever episode, which is audio only, but is now available on YouTube. It's called Spiders and Why I Hate Them.
Yeah.
And it was the first time we mentioned Skyrim. Hey! But also, we did talk about this game, and we did have some of our thoughts, but it wasn't in like a focused, dedicated purely to this game style thing. So I suppose we are revisiting it in this episode in a way where it's easier to find. It's like, where's that Uncharted 3 discussion? Here it is. But it's just interesting that you brought up the spiders again. It reminded me of the we talked. Yeah,
but I think we also we did talk about spiders in that episode a lot. But I'm pretty sure we said that the spiders weren't that scary in that episode.
I suppose it's like, they don't have to be spiders, do they? Like, they could be scarabs from, say, the Mummy, or they could be any form of like swarming insect, I guess. Is what they could be. So yeah, it's not like an arachnophob's nightmare. It's more like scary insects, or whatever.
Yeah, but they were spiders though.
But they were spiders, yeah.
They were spiders, which some of them have a six legs. And you're like, what are you trying to be?
Right.
And then, of course, back to when Sully got shot. I suppose another element of why I didn't care is because the minute you drop down, the world gets all weird and funky, like as if you're like having a psychedelic fit, which you are. Now, I didn't know it was because of the water that you drank about 2 seconds earlier. But then I was like, oh, well, this is obviously fake. So Sully's obviously probably not dead then. I mean, I don't know, but that's my guess. And then you're fighting the guys and they got the flaming skulls. And I was like, these are actually lame compared to you guys are actually now making the Guardians from Uncharted 2 seem like a really cool, interesting design. Because they're soldiers with flaming heads, and then you shoot them a couple times and their head kind of becomes more on fire. And now they're harder. I was like, just go away. Other than that's great.
Right.
The relationship between Drake and Elena was.
I've never heard you talk
nice.
this much about any game before. Even like when you love a game, it's just like, yeah, love is great. You know,
yeah, nothing to say. Eric just has nothing. Like unless he hates something, he has nothing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the most romantic. Well, maybe it's not the most romantic.
No, the fourth one is most romantic.
But it's the second most romantic in the series. So
yeah,
nice
Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah.
I thought there were some moments between Drake and Elena that were nice. I also thought more negativity. It was a bit kind of like, now you're just shoehorning them being separated again for the sake of just kind of, and then you're only pushing them back together again. It's a bit sort of like, do one or the other, which is why I'm really happy with what they did in Uncharted 4. But it was still, there was still some, like the moment when he comes back from the boat and he gets to the apartment and then he lies on Elena. It was just such a nice, really nice.
That's one of my favorite moments in the game, actually.
Yeah.
When he just like says, "I'm sorry," and she's like, "I know," and she's like looking on distantly, and there's just I think that's a really good understanding of their relationship where he keeps fucking up and he knows he fucks up and he keeps doing it, and he actually doesn't deserve her. She's too good for him.
Yeah.
But she's kind of the only, apart from Sully, she's the most supportive person in his life. Like, she actually does care about him. So I think that's a really good moment. And also, they do talk about, obviously, that they were engaged before this one. But I do agree with you that there is, like, an element of, with a lot of Uncharted 3, there is an element of copy and paste from Uncharted 2.
Yes.
And that is a bit annoying. Because Uncharted 2 went bigger than Uncharted 1. But Uncharted 3 did more of Uncharted 2.
Yeah.
Is what I felt. Now, in saying that, some of the sequences in Uncharted 3, I would argue, are some of the best in the series.
The plane sequence, which has made its way into the movie. Like,
yeah, it's incredible. It's so fun to play through, and I remember, like, it's classic Nathan Drake, isn't it? He's, of course, he's going to fight his way through a plane.
Yeah,
that's gonna crash.
The knife fight with Talbot is definitely within the first 3 games that came out is probably the best last end boss fight. That I feel like a really good fight.
Not necessarily best gameplay, but very cinematic.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, because
cool.
Because the talk when you're fighting Navarro, it's just roll. You're just rolling between boxes, then you go over and do a little punching, and it's fine. And then Lazarevich is typical. Oh, I'm a super villain now. You got to shoot things. Yeah. It's a bit sort of like, I don't know, feels like a generic boss fight from any other game. So then this one was very reminiscent of something like the end of a James Bond movie or something like that. So it was very good.
Yeah, big blockbuster feel.
It was a blockbuster feel to the end of it. It's just other stuff didn't work. I like another good quote in it is when Drake and Sully get to Yemen and they meet Elena. And it's like, I noticed you're wearing the ring. And she was like, oh, it helps in this part of the world. And then Sully goes over to Drake. He's like, I know she's still wearing the ring. It's like, yeah, she says it helps in this world. So what does that mean? I haven't a clue. No idea.
Right. Typical men, like, unaware of the issues that Elena faces in her day, on the daily. Okay, Eric, I've enjoyed your rant.
Anyone else?
well, Adam, I'd like to hear your counter. Is this like Uncharted 3 Drake's debate?
Let's sort of go back to like the beginning of the game. if I may.
You may. Your opening statement.
Just
reminds me
my
of our
first
days
time
in court.
experiencing the game is a friend of mine bought it before I got a chance to. So I just went up to his, and it was the day he bought it, and I got to see the opening of it. And he's like, "Are you sure you want to see all this? You don't want to like wait till you get your own?" I'm like, "Oh, no, it's fine, it's fine. Because I don't mind watching Uncharted. You know, it's
No,
not
of
one
course
of those games that you get enjoyment out of even if you're just spectating." And I was just blown away by the opening, that kind of the shots that they had in it, and then they're just like walking to the bar, and then there's like this kind of felt like Guy Ritchie style bar fight
Snatch or something.
sequence, and then the guy that's supposed to take you out ends up he's on your side, Cutter. And it's like we have the introduction of that character, which obviously they just wrote because they liked Graham from the second one.
Yeah,
So
and
they're
Jason
like,
Statham.
Yeah, so there's like, yeah, come on, yeah, let's do this one. But just that bar fight sequence I just thought was really cool, which had a little Last of Us reference in it that they had to remove in that bar. Yeah, there was on the bar table, the counter, there's a newspaper that talks about some sort of fungal breakout in South America or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was them trying to be clever, but I think too many people kind of figured it out, and then they had to remove it or some shit like that. I can't remember.
Okay.
So it's not in the remaster. But just I think the character of Cutter is such an it's a character I want to see back, because obviously we got Chloe a few times, now we have Nadine and stuff like that, but Cutter has been cut. And I think everyone has been hoping to get him back. Maybe there'll be a Sam Drake and Cutter game or something like that. Would be cool.
I think that's one partnership that would actually work, in that
Yeah.
I don't think Sam would like Cutter at all,
No.
and would probably
Well, he doesn't,
bully or
does he? I think
abuse the guy. Yeah, he's like, I don't want Cutter,
Yeah.
I actually kind of do like the joke. It's like, Charlie Cutter, he's one of my go-to guys. Like, no. Because like even from playing Uncharted 3, it's like Cutter is just I don't know, there's something about him where you're like, I don't know if I'd want him to be like my best man or something like that.
Yeah.
He's not super reliable.
It's like, really, how many people are in this business?
Yeah.
All four of them. And that's it. It's like I have no choice but to ask this guy. Which actually brings me to not a favorite quote of the game, but a little moment I really loved, just because I relate. Is they were talking about phone calls, and then Drake is like, when you ring me or something like that, and he's like, oh, I don't have any credit. It's like, you take credit? It's like, yeah, of course I do. Those bill pays are a rip-off. And just like, yeah, they are. Because he's British, as well. So like, that would be, I don't think pay-as-you-go is necessarily a thing in the US.
Right.
So
more relevant to this side of the world, maybe. Yeah.
So I thought that was a cool moment. But I do like the main villains in this, and they set them up at the beginning of the game, Marlowe and Talbot. And I think they're probably some of the finest villains in the series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
Well, I think she has such an incredible presence to her. She's not physically threatening.
No.
But when she tells you that, your life's over or something like that, there's something about her where you're just like, oh, I fucking believe it. Like, she has her performance is really, really good just throughout the game. So even getting to the bit where she's kind of interrogating Drake, and one of the finest moments in the Uncharted series, I think, is where she reveals Drake's deception, that's not his name.
Yeah.
That is a great moment. And then, of course,
I really like
they
that bit.
poison him as well. And you just tell she's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so much more I could praise of the game. Like, yes, there are my criticisms of it would be things like the boat sequence. Although it's a great sequence, it really is a great sequence. It just pulls you out of the moment a bit, that you kind of go,
feels out of place, right?
Yeah, you kind of go, wait a minute, what am I doing? Let's get back on track here. So that's more of a gameplay related, I think on a gameplay standpoint, I prefer 3 over 2.
Mm.
I tend to replay 3 more because I think it plays better as a video game. But when it comes to just like playing the game through for its story, it tends to veer a little bit. I do like the story, but it gets a bit sidetracked because it has to do like great explosive things and exciting things and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, it's a video game. So I think it does play well as a video game. It just doesn't quite. It's not a very linear movie.
It doesn't flow from one section to the next as well as like Uncharted 2 does.
Yeah.
You know, like the bit with the Hind D is a great spectacle moment as well, but it's flowing. You know, because you're trying to get to it, and it's as you're trying to get there, the Hind D comes along. But the boat sequence is, you get drugged, and yes, there's a good sequence where to reveal that. But yeah, and then you just kind of veer off, and then you're trying to get back, and it's not something where, I don't know, it should be more of a you get onto the boat, and that boat is bringing you to your next destination. Because
I think I could have done without the boat.
You know, you just go out and then you come back, and then that's kind of essentially what happens.
Yeah, because the plane sequence does kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
where you do kind of happen upon your next area, but they do it in such a way that it's like that Mirage sequence going through
I really
the desert
enjoyed
is
that
so good.
sequence. Yeah,
it's
because
really good. Yeah,
and I suppose it does mirror the sequence. It's the opposite of Uncharted 2, where he's walking around the cold and he's like, "I'm gonna fucking freeze to death out here."
Yeah.
Until luckily he's saved. And this one, it's like this guy is fucked. Like there's no water anywhere. There's nothing around for ages. He's falling apart here.
Yeah.
And
that's a bit now like where I'm like, okay, this is really cool. But then when he gets to
the little town,
the ruins, I have a problem there too.
Right
with it. And again, it's a kind of a gameplay / story element where I'm a bit like, this guy was on the brink of dehydration and death. And now he's running around shooting and punching the hell out of everyone and just tossing grenades. Like,
right.
It's like they should have given him some water. Like he
no
water there.
He needed to be saved before that fight sequence.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Salim needed to come along before that.
Salim saves him, brings him to that place, gives him water, and then the guys come down into the town. And then you're fighting with Salim, and now you have a reason to care about Salim.
Was this the last Uncharted that Amy Hennig wrote?
Yeah.
She's great, by the way. She's great. I really I think the gameplay to this game is solid. It's just as fun as the other Uncharted games, and there's some improvements even on Uncharted 2 in terms of like tossing back grenades and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful.
Yeah, really, really good. But yes, my criticisms do come in on the story, which is where there's great story stuff in there, really great story stuff, especially around the theme of deception. So it's not just like Sir Francis Drake's deception a long time ago, but it's also Nathan Drake's deception about his identity. It's also the villain's whole thing is all about deception. The treasure itself is a form of deception. Like,
I do love the treasure.
Yeah, Sully himself is there's all play around like, has he been deceiving Nate this whole time? And so that theme is really great. And I think it's one of the strongest titles. It's unfortunately an element though of just too much. I think there's just too many things too many ideas trying to cram into one experience, and they don't all gel naturally together. The spiders thing really bothered me in that they beg the question as to what's with the spiders. Like they raise awareness around it, but they never answer it. And it's so unusual because the other Uncharted games, whether you like the answer or not, they do answer everything. You know what I mean? So like, you might not like the reasoning behind the Sasquatches, but you will get one.
Yeah.
Do you get me? Whereas the spiders, which
they kind of addressed it, but not in a. It's just not satisfying enough. I think is what. Well,
I remember I was reading like people's theories around it, right? And the fact that there is theories around it is strange, but there was someone. One of the theories was that what's in the urn, in the water in Iram, is like the queen spider or something. And these are all its babies, and that's where the hallucinogen comes from, is their venom, which is like, the one that that the secret organization have in their base in London. Remember, they have it in a glass jar.
They do, yeah.
that's where they make their hallucinogenic toxin from.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Right.
I don't think
There's queen spider.
there's
in the
a
jar.
queen's fire in the jar. I do think that the organization are very, motivated by controlling people, obviously, through hallucinogenics, and that's why they have the spider, and they do create that hallucinogenic from it. I think that is true. I think you can.
Yeah,
that seems like a fairly clear
a good connection.
But like the gin, they can't. Contaminating the water is like the ultimate version of that. If they can just get their hands on that, then they wouldn't need to be harvesting from the spiders all the time and all this kind of stuff. They just literally have to put this thing in any water and it's fine. They have like an endless supply of it. I don't think there's I think in the game it does mention about that it was Drake himself who put the spiders there to stop people from following the trail.
But what are they? Because
yeah, I don't know. That's the mystery, really, is like where they came from. Yeah,
they kind of obviously they stay in the dark, so that's why they don't leave those temples. That's fine. If someone put them there, it makes sense that they would never get out, really, right? Well, maybe not at nighttime though. Anyway, but then, in their first appearance, they kill one of the bad guys, and when we find him, he's like decomposed nearly.
Yeah.
And it's like, they just got here. Like, what the fuck just happened? So they're huge. So they're clearly not regular spiders.
No.
You know what I mean? So
they
it's
have
just
6
strange.
legs too.
Yeah.
Some of them have 6 legs. Some of them have 8 legs.
That's more to do, I think, with, like, can you imagine if this had been made when, like, after, say, A Plague Tale had been made, where you have that kind of animation to animate a swarm like that?
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if there's an element of similar gameplay actually around those sections. I wonder if this game somewhat influenced A Plague Tale.
Maybe.
In those elements. It's possible because like the whole gameplay loop is using fire to maneuver your way around swarms. Right?
If that's the case, Uncharted 3 is the best game ever.
Well, it is a great game.
But like, that's the thing, like the spiders,
criticisms.
The spiders thing is actually fine, and it makes for an okay component. It's just that where does it fit into the story? The boat sequence is like fucking amazing. Actually, a really really great sequence climbing up this sinking ship. But where does it fit in the story? Like that's the thing is like these are all great gameplay moments. It's just that unfortunately doesn't flow.
Yeah,
which is why it's like I shouldn't like this game as much as I do, because there are these obvious problems with it. But I think the reason I really, really enjoy it is that this is the most true to the character in terms of this is the most Indiana Jones of the Uncharted games. This is the most Hollywood. Like, I mean, this is the closest we're going to get to the Living Daylights as a video game.
Yeah.
And this is back to being a personal story for Drake. I felt like 2 was a side story, a side quest.
Yeah, I get you.
It didn't feel connected to Drake at all. Whereas the third one comes back to, and the same with the fourth one. The fourth one is again a very personal journey. Yes, it's almost like the 2 is the outlier here.
Yeah, but that's a result of had 3 not been such a. Well, this is what I was looking for all along. And to be honest, I do get to a point where, like, even when I played Uncharted 4, one criticism that I do have, is as like, some of this doesn't add up. It's like, well, this is what I was looking for ever since I was a kid. And it's like, no, but this is what I've been looking for all along. No, this is what I've been looking for all along. I was like, what's it do? Just get fucking sidetracked every time he finds a new hobby? Like, I just.
Yeah, but what's your favorite movie of all time?
My favorite movie of all time?
Yeah.
Fellowship of the Ring,
okay.
Right?
But how many times have you went, oh, that's like my favorite movie, to like another film?
Right, I get you.
Yeah, you just get sidetracked, man.
I know, but what I mean is Nathan Drake's, like... So, in the first game, which is fine, like, but the whole idea is that he has been trying to prove that Sir Francis Drake faked his death all this time and that he's hiding something, and they find it and they look for it. Great. Then Uncharted 3, they show a flashback to when Nate was a kid.
Yep.
Arguably, this is where the Tom Holland casting came from.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been looking for this thing, and he's been looking for it ever since. And even like says to Sully, it's like, how long have we been looking for this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that.
But I feel like that's part of him trying to prove that Drake faked his death. Was all that. Like, I think
yeah,
that
possibly.
that kind of thing was all part of that same journey.
Yeah, maybe.
But I do
maybe.
get the whole Avery thing.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
get there, then suddenly it's like, well, hold on a second. And then when you skip time, you realize that him as a kid in Uncharted 3, Sam is still around somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, where does that fit
Yeah,
in?
no,
It's just one little thing. Where
That's
it's
a
like,
bit of a deserves a bit of a retcon a little bit, but
yeah.
But I do think that like 3 and 1, they feel connected to me in terms of their motivation going after that particular treasure. And 2 just does feel like a side quest.
Yeah, yeah. But I do like the like I remember being kind of mind blown about like the twist of Nathan Drake's. Well, you don't find out enough about it.
Yeah.
But you just get enough to know that he's been lying about his name and his backstory. Like, he is an orphan and he didn't have a good upbringing and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I never even stopped to think, I wonder what Nathan Drake's origin is. But now I'm interested.
Yeah,
like, now you've brought it up.
It paved the way for 4, really, didn't it? So
it did, yeah. So like, I do really like that moment, and it didn't feel like, say, don't know if everyone has seen Solo. It didn't feel like that, where it's like, you're trying to give me an origin to Han Solo that I don't want, and when you give it to me, I hate it. Have you guys seen that?
No, I
haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Okay.
I'm very aware of it, which is why I haven't seen it.
Right. There's a scene in it. There's a scene in it where he's trying to get onto like an Imperial ship, right? He's trying to get off the planet that he grew up on, because he's very much like Drake, where he lives on the streets. He's a bit of a smuggler, and he's trying to get out of there. He wants to make it big. He wants to get out of the dirt, basically, right? And he's trying to get onto this Imperial ship, but there's also stormtroopers looking for him, and he wants to get through quick. And the man's like, "Your name?" And he's like, "Han." And he's like, "Okay, your surname?" And he's like, I don't have one." And he's like, "Well, who are your people?" And he's like, "I'm alone. I'm solo." And he goes, Han Solo. And he types that in, and you're just like, this is the fucking worst. This is honestly horrific writing right there. I never questioned where Han Solo got his surname from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just an explanation I did not need. However, the explanation of Nathan Drake's surname is great.
Yeah. But like, it's just slightly going back to Star Wars, right?
Sure.
Yeah, because like all surnames do have an origin. Yeah. But the way your man is talking about, like, oh, you're on your own, so you're solo. It's like, was a couple of generations ago, like, oh, you walked across the sky, so you're a Skywalker. It's like, is that how everyone gets to freaking name? Oh, you open a window, so you're Windu. Like, is that like?
That was very quick.
It's a fucking
It had feta cheese. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Actually, that moment though in Uncharted 3, I don't know why. Again, that was another moment that is a big feel. It's like, holy shit! It just didn't fucking over my head. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't really.
That really worked for me, especially because they have him sitting down, and it's the one time he's not being witty back to the
he's
villains.
It just all of a sudden he's very serious.
Yeah,
and he's like. He's
off
like,
guard,
you don't know all
that.
It's like, you don't know what to think about me or something, and then they reveal that, and it's like, oh, actually, yeah, we know nearly everything about you. And it's just that one comment, just you see in Drake is like, oh, these people aren't fucking around. You know?
Yeah. I actually, I suppose, because I haven't spoken on that yet, I do like the villains in this. I agree with Adam. I do like them. However, I also agree with Eric in that there are parts where
an explanation, like, no, the performance of Marlowe,
and the design of the characters is great.
Yeah, Marlowe is brilliant. I was happy that when I saw Marlowe in the trailers, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like,
she looks like a Bond villain, and she's got the knife that comes out of the umbrella and everything.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And she has that power of manipulation and everything, which is like often even more powerful than brute force. But yeah, it's just the fucking no explanation. It's just
I don't like. I think the spiders needed an explanation as to where they kind of came from, and but I think their whole gig with magic is kind of explained in just who they are as an organization. Like how they do the trick isn't explained, but
Yeah.
it's clear that they're just using theatrics
Yes.
and it's not actual magic.
I agree. Do you know what it is then? It's not necessarily that I need an explanation, but it's that I don't think it's like as if when they do the magic bit, right, which is kind of once in the whole game.
Yeah.
It's just badly executed. You know, they're already about to push fucking Cutter off a cliff, and then they show him the card or something like that. You know, or no, the card is found on him afterwards, and it's like, how did they know? And it's like, well, we just saw them put you in that situation. Versus if earlier on in the game, you happen to find one of those tarot cards or something, and then that sequence happens later, and suddenly they're like, what the fuck? And they're freaked out by it. Do you know?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate sequence in the Cutter breaking his leg.
Right.
Do you know why that happened?
Well, it seems like Graham maybe wasn't available for the rest or something like that they had to write him out. That's what it seems like.
That is exactly what happened.
So what did happen to him?
He had to take a little trip to New Zealand.
To do The Hobbit?
to The Hobbit.
But you know what? He was great in The Hobbit, so I don't mind. I don't mind.
They did actually have to write him out of it. He was to be in the entire game. Like, he was... Wow. Which is very, very unfortunate, but look, he obviously got a bigger paycheck playing The Hobbit or doing it.
No, but as well, he was like, I loved his character in The Hobbit. You know,
yeah, he was good in The Hobbit.
It was one of the better Hobbit performances, even I would say. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's just probably just that the execution of it, and then the sort of like are they a world dominating force? Are they just England? Are they descendants of a particular sect of that?
Yes, they're descendants of the same organization that I believe that Francis Drake was once a part of, that John Dee was a part of, this secret British organization that at one point worked for the Queen but no longer, or not the Queen, the King, whoever would have been in power at the time, no longer does, but they are a sect that carried on, that looks for these treasures and stuff. And I thought it would have been very interesting
Templars.
to have. Yeah, kind of.
Let's blame it on the Templars.
Is the it's Illuminati.
Illuminati.
I thought it would have been really interesting to have in there even just a hint at the possibility that these were the guys who were going to buy from Navarro.
That would have been cool. I would have loved that.
But
it would have put them on such a pedestal.
Sure.
That it would have been a bit like Blofeld. Spectre reference again, where it's like, oh, I was behind it all along, everything, even your man. We sent Lazarevich.
We were going to buy El Dorado, and we funded Lazarevich's expedition.
Or if Lazarevich was perhaps a member of them and went rogue or some shit, or I don't know, but I mean, they could have built up a cool kind of mythology, but then it does become
too connected.
Yeah, Trinity, you know, from Tomb Raider.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's nice that there's like
totally
these individual.
See, I only say it because of the obvious connections between Uncharted 1 and 3, though.
Yeah.
Because Sir Francis Drake is part of the storyline, and because it goes back to an organization like that, it's like, if this is the continuation of that same organization, it would make sense that any of the stuff that Drake found back then are the stuff they're interested in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of cool that he was sent by them to try and collect all these monstrous, hideous kind of treasures to bring back for England for the wars.
I love how, though, it was like, so that means if you look at this one, though, he dealt with the events of Uncharted 3 first, because he dies on the island of Uncharted 1.
Yep.
And he goes, do not come here, bad shit, dump some spiders, right?
Yes.
And he goes back and he goes, that's bad shit, don't do it, bad shit. It's like, okay, well, how about this one? You go find this one? No problem. So then he goes out again, finds that, and he goes, oh, this is unreal. We should bring this somewhere else, though. So let's do that. So he brings it to a fucking... Oh, no, sorry. No, the Spanish brought it to the island. Sorry, he finds it on the island, right? The English find it on the island.
Yeah.
He gets to the island, and then he also goes, oh, no, bad shit. He's like,
not doing this again. I'm just going to fucking die here.
I should have given this up the first... Oh, no, I left my journal in the coffin.
Yeah.
They're gonna come right to me. What have I done? Blow up them ships.
Yeah.
So that's basically backtrack of Sir Francis Drake in this mythology.
Yeah.
That's how it went down. Dump some spiders. Bring them to France, will you?
Yeah, no, and then when he got to the island that was owned by Spanish, he was like, "Oh, fuck! I dumped too many spiders in the other place. I
Yeah,
should
not
have dumped
enough
some
spiders
here.
Spiders.
Oh no!"
Imagine, yeah. What do you think of the sequence in France? Actually,
Like the chateau.
yeah,
That's a cool sequence. The burning of the building, I think, is such another. Like, that's not that over the top, but that would fit right into 4 in terms of that level of.
that's a good set piece. I think.
Yeah, that and the plane. I think that and the plane are fine.
That's all
They're
they needed.
perfect. Yeah, that's all they needed. Yeah, but as well, I did think it was strange though to have a jungle in France. I know they make a comment on it, so it's like they're self-aware about it. They're like, "Oh, I trust you to find a jungle in France."
Yeah, I
Right?
love that.
It's
That's
kind
funny.
of it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like I don't need a jungle all the time. I really don't. Like, I don't need it. I was fine with them just being even just woodlands, like more forest kind of a thing.
Yeah,
In France,
Yeah.
it's weird. There aren't jungles in France. Like, it's just weird. It's the wrong climate.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
yeah. Well, there's
It's
also not
strange.
giant 6-legged spiders that decompose your body in a couple of seconds. But sure, hell, they found that too.
Yeah, I know that, but like that was a mystery that I was willing to go along with. Whereas it's like a jungle in France is just strange.
But that's it, Juggler France. That's when you cross the line.
I crossed
Yeah,
the line.
that's so
This is
unbelievable.
bullshit,
I
man.
was just like, yeah, probably. Maybe there is.
Sure.
Why not?
Sure.
Or maybe.
Why
I mean, maybe it was an
Sure.
arboretum.
A what?
An arboretum.
You keep your big fucking words out of this podcast. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well,
What's an arboretum?
like where they have it's like a fucking
Jungle.
it's a park. It's like a
It's
park.
A park.
They weren't in a park, Adam. What the fuck you on about? It was like kids in a fucking merry-go-round.
Like an arboretum is a place where I hope that's how you fucking pronounce it too.
No, I've never heard it before.
It's actually
Right.
good. So actually, that's Jonathan.
It's
Jonathan. It's a Jonathan in France.
it's how would you describe it? It's basically like
I'll look it up.
a place where different like trees and plants and things like that are it's like it is a park for just all these different exotic trees. Like we have some in
Is it like-
Wexford in Ireland.
Right. Is it like a wildlife reserve for trees? Is it kind of, you know, like
yeah. And
you get me?
and many of these, when you go to them, even here in Ireland, like you come across trees that are just not native here, and there's like jungle sequences, jungle sections.
Wow.
Right. So
Yes. So that's what they did. They dumped a load of spiders and planted loads of fucking jungle trees.
Yeah, they must have had weird seeds in their pockets.
okay.
No, but what I'm saying is that the castle itself, as a grounds, because that's not unusual for castles
Yes,
to have.
okay, because the lord of the castle might have wanted exotic trees around.
Possibly,
Okay.
yes.
Right. So
That's
Um,
really not out of the realm of possibility.
I've looked it up. Right.
Yeah.
I've
Go
looked
on,
up its
Eric.
meaning. So I still don't know how to pronounce it because it's like Greek or something. So the first
I
meaning,
think it's Latin, no? Arboretum, maybe.
well, I don't know. The version underneath it looks a bit Greek or Russian. Anyway, so the first meaning is a botanical garden devoted to trees. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
The second meaning is a place where trees, shrubs, and herbaceous plants are cultivated for scientific and educational purposes.
Well, that, you know what? I take everything back. That would make sense because the chateau was owned by alchemists, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so they would be studying the properties of everything. So yes, it's great. I love it. Uncharted 3 is the best.
Jungles of France makes sense.
Jungles in France.
Salim is straight out of the Living Daylights, though, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
That's just
And
that's,
that convoy
that's
sequence
him.
as well.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
sequence. That's a good sequence.
It is good.
I prefer that sequence to the one in 2.
Yeah, like I think that's a better convoy sequence. However, I did have the thought of another convoy sequence. You know,
There is
even though
that,
it's
yeah.
a better one, it is a feeling of that. But yeah, I do like that you're on the horse and you're catching up and you can jump back onto the horse.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool.
And everything in the
Um,
desert. I prefer the desert setting as opposed to the snowy one, I think. I just
Do
think
ya?
the actual like the sand physics and everything are just phenomenal, especially for its time.
Well,
But I
that's
do
true.
love the whole like sandstorm, and you can just see lasers going through it and like fighting through all that.
Mm.
It's just a pity we don't get enough time
Yeah, it's weird that
in
there's somewhere in
what's
the
the name of the
game.
place? Iram? Ilam?
Aram of
Iram?
Ubar or Aram of the Pillars or Atlantis Descends.
Yeah, it's we don't get enough
Different
time
names.
in that place because it's stunning.
Yes, it is. It's very nice.
It is
But yeah,
beautiful.
there is. It's a really long game, which
Yeah.
maybe that slightly took me out of it because I was like, Jesus, this is going on, and I haven't even gotten to Aram yet,
Hmm.
or whatever it was called. But yeah, there's somewhere in the middle of this game there is time wasted that just, now maybe it is just that entire.
It's the ship sequence.
It is.
It is the
It's,
ship
yeah,
sequence, yeah.
it's all that. It's the bit from when you get capture Ramesses up to when you kill Ramesses. Yeah, it's just like take that out and put that more into the desert, going through the ruins, being with Salam and them, or Salim or
Salim?
Salim.
Samantha, whatever his name is. Right, and then you go to the city and being in the city more would just that would have been
Yeah,
nice.
well, I think that and 2 deserve more time in
They
the
do, yeah.
uncharted areas that they are
Yeah.
supposed to be in.
and
I
I don't
agree,
know,
and
maybe
that's
name the organization. That'd be nice.
That's another element where there's like a copy and paste feeling. I feel where it's like you're looking for the place, you get to the place at the end,
Yeah,
something goes down in the place explodes.
Yeah.
And the second one has that very same feeling nearly. And I love the design of Aram. It's stunning. It's a really cool looking place. And yes, I would have liked more time to explore it. And as well, this is another mythology that I know little
Right.
about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So in a similar way where Shambhala was fascinating to me, Iram was also fascinating to me. And this kind of Arabian mythology, it was like, this is fucking cool. And this
Yeah,
architecture
I
is-
do love the thing about the djinn,
Yeah.
and I prefer the kind of monstrous creatures, I guess, in this one over 2.
Let's talk about that for a moment then.
Yeah.
Because Eric didn't like it.
Doesn't agree.
No, I don't.
All right. So Adam, why do you like it?
I like it because the second one, as we said, we were interested in the whole Yeti Sasquatch kind of thing. It's like that makes for an interesting creature, suits this setting, but then it just turns out they're not that. They're more they almost resemble a little bit like the guys from the first one, only now they're standing and they have weapons. There's like that
they're
kind of
stockier.
mutated human.
Yeah.
So that little bit was a bit copy paste for me, just that they gave him weapons. Whereas the third one, you're like, okay, what? Obviously they're going to have monsters. What are they going to be? And this is actually the first one that decided not to do that. This is just you fighting normal guys, but you are just under hallucination.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. That's a bit of a scarecrow moment to some degree.
Yeah.
And that to me is really, really interesting. So although they're not dying on you, it's likely that you're actually just not hitting them. Just thinking about what is it in reality. Imagine being them trying to fight this guy and he's just shooting in the air. You're like, what is he shooting at?
Yeah.
And they
What the
looked
fuck's
cool
wrong
too.
with
They
this
looked
guy?
like Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I kind of like the way they look, and especially because Salim has already told him a description of the jinn
Yeah.
in Myth. So
Yeah.
that idea is in his head. And then he gets here to this place and suddenly he's thinking about the jinn. And these guys, and the way they move like smoke and fire, I think is cool. I think personally that the execution of the creatures in Uncharted 2 is better. And I mean when they're Sasquatches and everything.
All right. Yes.
I think they're
yeah.
executed better.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
But the explanation in Uncharted 3 is better.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that it's just a hallucination. However, because it's only in that one sequence and there's so much other weird shit happening, there is an element of what is going on? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they could have sprinkled it in more and made it more of a the twist is that it's like, oh fuck, all the shit that I've seen isn't real.
How about we
Um,
remove the spiders, but we have guardians that are like, they appear that they're in flame.
Yes, right. No, I actually too think that would have been a good idea. And I don't know, maybe at subtle points in each of those temples or whatever, there was something that Nate took or drank or something, and it happened so subtly or during gameplay. It's so casual that you don't even notice it until when you get to the end, and then you realize that at every point the water has been contaminated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh fuck! Suddenly there's been this big twist, and it's like, and yes, they've known about these other spots of water, but they're looking for the source. They're looking for the origins of this hallucinogen. And I think
because
that would have really
the other sources could be like, because it wears off after a while, but the one in Iram could be like almost permanent.
Well,
yeah, to some extent.
Yeah.
Like a lot, like recover then though, but
no, what I mean though is like, if in the first place is the chateau, isn't it? That's the first place you meet the spiders and everything. That's the first clue. So yeah, if something happens there, maybe like they could have some steam pipe and it bursts and the steam goes into Drake's face. He's like, ah, fuck, you know what I mean? And that'll be releasing the toxin into him, and then he sees like in the distance or something, he kind of sees a shape of like the creature from the first one, but yeah, made out of smoke and fire. And he's like, what the fuck is that? Must be my imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's only like a couple of seconds. Almost.
Yes, gotcha, right.
Then in
you're getting a hint of a monster.
Yes, and then you have where do they go next? Turkey or
well.
No, not well is in Yemen.
For the spiders, you mean?
Yeah, where Charlie Cutter breaks his leg. That's the next place to go after the chateau.
Oh, it's
like a museum or something like that. It's
I can't remember where that is now.
Might not be Turkey, but anyway, he goes there and maybe he's very dehydrated, so he does drink a bit of water. And then he sees like the Flaming Guardian or something like that. And he's like more freaking out. But again, it only lasts a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a little bit more potent than the steam.
Well, you have to escape it at that point, right?
You escape it at that point, right? It's a little bit more potent. But when he gets to the other one, it lasts like a full hour. It lasts much longer because it's the
you're full on fighting
source.
These things. Yeah.
Yes. So you're fighting things from your past in this flamey fire.
I wouldn't have done from the past, though. That's the only thing.
Well, okay, maybe not for that.
Like I would have basically like
I would have you thinking these are the new monsters.
Yeah.
The twist is it's a hallucination.
I think the first time you meet them, it's just one, and it's basically the big brute guys you have to fight. It's like one of them but flaming, not as in. They're on fire.
What did you? What I don't.
I get what you meant.
It's okay.
What is that? What are these words you're throwing at us? Right? What is all this street lingo you got going on?
Yeah, kind of like I suppose Vulcan Raven at the start of the Phantom Pain,
or
Vulcan. You mean Vulcan?
No.
Vulcan Raven.
At this point, he's Vulcan. He's fucking apart. Yeah, I realized I said it wrong there. But yeah, Vulcan at the start of
if it looked like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That's something you're trying to escape. Yeah, I agree that they just kind
that
of
would be better execution.
Appear out of nowhere. But I do like what they are. Their explanation of it. It's like they managed to do monsters without them being another monster. And it's just, I just think that the djinn itself and the explanation behind that is really interesting, because this is something that like, they could put into the water sources of certain towns and cities and just have them under full control.
Or even do that kind of Batman Begins style plot of like, you could send this into like a war zone and have everyone tear each other apart or kill each other because they're just mad on hallucinogens, and then you could go in and take your resources afterwards after they're all gone.
So I think a part of a problem with them is because it's just the soldiers you've been fighting the whole time, but now their heads are flaming. Kind of just, it feels like one of those cheap gameplay mechanics that's like, oh, here's just a harder version of like this enemy is now a different color, so they're harder. It just kind of feels like that, rather than being an interesting design. Well, hallucinogenics.
I'm with you on the fact that because it's those men and their heads go on fire and it all happens so briefly and so quickly and we just got here. I was like, how the fuck did they get powers? When did that happen? So I fully did not believe that they were creatures in this place, versus if they had even if it turns out that when the hallucination wears off, you look around and it is those soldiers you've just
but
had they looked like had their own design because you're hallucinating. Why does it have to look anything resembling the soldiers? And like they're shooting fireballs at you, or whatever, but it turns out those are bullets the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But had they had their own design as well as having like the flaming heads, I could have been like, holy shit, are these the creatures that lived in this place? Like, based on the other two, I would have to buy what they showed me.
Yes.
But given that the soldiers' heads went on fire in that moment, I was like, well, this is not real.
And then also the color tone they use for that sequence is very
they're all
much
hazy.
Yeah, they're very
and
much
you hallucinated earlier on when you were chasing Talbot.
Yeah,
so
but they
it's
kind
the
of
same effect.
No, it's a little different on that bit, just because what they did was they showed that there was like a red moon or something appeared, like as if it was the apocalypse, and that's why the color changed.
But there is a wavy.
Not in that bit. There isn't.
There is.
No,
definitely. Are you kidding me?
There is when you're chasing.
When we're going through the streets, it's hazy.
Yeah,
that bit, right? There's the red moon, but you're still also like,
you go down and then
I'm underground, and when I went underground, the sun was beaming up in the sky. There's no way there's a fucking moon right now, shining through the mountains, because you can't see the sky when you're down there.
Not the moon. It's like a red sun, no? It's like a
probably. It felt very The Mummy or something, you know.
Yeah. It was like,
but it's
apocalyptic.
Just, for me, just no part of it that I believed.
Right.
I didn't buy it for the whole thing.
What is your favorite sequence?
Did I buy it?
I bought it once. You bought it actually, and we just played it.
Yeah.
I got the first one. Chris got the second one. You got the third one. I think Chris got the fourth one.
Maybe that's why I love it.
True.
Who's mine?
And now we all probably have our own copy of all of them. What's your favorite sequence of the game, or what's your favorite thing about the game?
My favorite sequence is probably the Mirage walking through the desert. Actually, it's such a cool moment, and it was one where I'm just like in awe of just like going up to the TV and seeing all the grains of sand. I know it's kind of a silly thing to like look up, like be gushing over, but it did, and as well as the beginning when it's the flashback and you're young Drake going through the museum just taking notes and things. The lighting there, it was so fucking good. That really like wowed me. Like this did feel like, with Uncharted 2, they really set the bar on what the games of that generation should look like. 3 took it a little step. 3 is way better.
Oh, absolutely. Like at this point, of course, like every Uncharted game looks better than the previous.
Yeah.
So at this point, Uncharted 3 is the best looking Uncharted game for sure.
So I do think that Mirage walking through the desert sequence was probably my favorite moment.
Eric, how about you? What's your favorite moment?
Probably the boat sequence. It's great.
Well, to play, it's a good sequence.
From the because it's when you finally don on that outfit that was advertised first time. Drake is advertised. He's walking up and there's a plane. He's in the middle of the desert wearing the bandolier and the scarf. It's on the cover. It's there for a lot of the advertisements. So it's from when you and Elena go to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much true to the Mirage and everything like that. So the planes, including the plane sequence as well and everything. Yeah, I really like all that stuff because it flows really well. It flows really nice. It has a spectacle moment in the middle of it. It has a moment of breathing. It starts off with stealth. Then everything goes to shit and you're kind of shooting your way through, as usually happens with Drake. And then you got the spectacle moment. Then you got the moment of respite, and then you're back into shit again in the ruins. As much as I disagree with the idea that he shouldn't be running around after nearly dying from dehydration, it's still actually quite a fun sequence to play in those ruins.
Oh yeah, no, it is. Yeah. Without the risk of sounding boring or expected, the plane sequence is my favorite sequence. I just think it's so expertly well done. It's that blockbuster feeling. It feels straight out of a movie, but it's in your hands. And it's done so well. It's so fun to play through. And it's like, as soon as it was advertised at all, it was like, I can't wait to do that. Like, I can't wait to do that. After seeing the shit that they had done in Uncharted 2, it was like, I cannot wait to see that. But now we would love to hear from you guys. So if you've been watching this on YouTube, please jump down to the comments. Let us know your thoughts on everything we brought up in Uncharted 3. Like, what do you think about the story? What do you think about the monsters? What do you think about the overall plot and feel of this game? And what is your favorite sequence from Uncharted 3? Do let us know. If you're listening to us on audio platforms, you can also touch base with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, to give us your take on Uncharted 3. Drake's Deception. Please do follow us as well. If you're on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and click that notification bell for all future content. And next week's episode is going to be, I suppose, the next follow-up, which is Uncharted 4 at Thief's End. We did talk about it briefly before, but this is going to be its own dedicated episode, and we'll be able to explain once again, for anyone who ever missed it, where the origins of our podcast title came from, which is in Uncharted 4. So looking forward to talking about that again. Thank you everyone for watching or for listening, and we'll be back to talk to you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.